Hey everybody, I'm Bob Stewart from Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University's Masters of Science in Leadership, Course 520, Management Skills for Leaders. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit today about mentorship, okay? Leadership is really important in today's global economy, and leadership is important in many organizations. But how do we define leadership? I think we define leadership as influencing people to do things that they might not otherwise feel compelled or have a desire to do. A good leader can get the most out of a person and make that person really, truly want to do for that leader what they can. When we look at effective leaders, we have to take into consideration that right now there are three generations in our workforce, three separate generations in our workforce. We have the baby boomers, and that's the generation that I'm from, and those are folks who were born from 1946 to 1964. The baby boomers tend to be little anti-authority. They're more driven for achievement. They're hard workaholics, maybe recognized as workaholics. They seek authority and they seek status. Then we have the Gen Xers who were born between 1964 and 1979. These are people who had to deal or grew up during the oil crisis. They grew up during the height of the Cold War. Jimmy Carter, Ronald Reagan were the presidents at that time. It was the post-Vietnam era, post-Nixonian era. They're a little more tuned into diversity. They're less likely to adhere to authority. Then we have the millennials, and the millennials are those who are born between 1980 and 2000. These are individuals who are very comfortable with technology because they grew up in a world rich in technology and technological innovation and development. There's another aspect about the millennials that, during their secondary and elementary and secondary school years, they were given rewards for showing up. There wasn't any necessary standout for performance. So these folks tend to be needy or see a sense of entitlement. And so there's differences between those three different generations. Now, the Center for Creative Leadership went out and they did a study on these generational differences and asked about effective leadership. And what they found out was that to be effective, that leaders need to be participative, team-oriented, humane-oriented, and charismatic. And that the solutions when we're developing leaders tells us then that we need to focus on behavior, not the generational differences. We need to look for specific solutions to problems. And the organizational climate and culture are very important as well. Now, it's good to understand effective leadership. It's good to know that you want to have that you're looking to have a mentoring program and need mentorship, but you probably should have a leadership strategy, and your strategy should be tied into your business strategy so that when you're developing your leaders, the purpose behind your leadership development goals. When we do mentoring, what kind of feedback are we getting? Are we getting feedback that tells us the effectiveness of our program or the ineffectiveness of our program? Do we do cross-functional teams where we broaden the horizons and the scope? Do we cross boundaries easily? Do we develop leaders who are locked into a stovepipe method of thinking? And then how engaged is the executive level of the organization? Oftentimes we look at coaching. Coaching is targeted towards the more senior people because coaching is looking at developing a skill or a trait or seeking to improve performance in a specific area. Mentoring, however, is more about a relationship between the mentor and the mentee. They tend to be long-term, they tend to be less formal, less structured, and it's more about helping that individual grow collectively and holistically in an organization than it is to have that one or two aspects improved. So why do we mentor? Mentoring helps us transfer knowledge and understanding and experience from one person or group of people to another person or another group of people. Basically, a simplified definition is it's helping people grow. Now, how do we do this? Well, there's something called the success triangle. And in the success triangle, you have expertise, those things that people are very good at. You have relationship building and organizational navigation. So in the expertise arm of this triangle, you take your mentor. Your mentor has probably a good background, a breadth of experience, and understanding of policies, procedures, processes, and by bringing a mentor on board, they can help them with the nuances, some of the things that aren't written down, some of the things in the gray areas. Mentors can help the mentee navigate through that. Building relationships between the mentor and the mentee is important, but more importantly than that is, especially when you do team type events or team developmental activities, you begin to build networks. And networks are really important for expanding influence of a leader. So if I have a good mentor and my mentor brings me into his network, then I'm part of that network and I can make that network part of mine. And I'm able to exert and expand influence, my personal influence, through the use of that network. And finally, navigating the organization. And some organizations can be complex. There's dynamics in organizations because not everybody's the same. So the mentor helps the mentee understand what portions of the organization do what, how to take advantage and leverage the strengths of those different parts of the organization to help them reach the outcomes that they are tasked or expected to come out with. Now, with all of that, we have to have a leadership development program. And what is the outcome we're looking for in a mentoring program? Well, one of the things that has been shown to be important is a need for self-awareness. Leaders need to be self-aware. They need to be attuned to their emotional intelligence, their EQ. A mentor can help mentees understand where they need to improve, where they need to make changes, and can give them feedback, because the relationship that the mentor and the mentee have allow for more open exchange of information than maybe in other relationships. Communication. Barriers to communication can be broken down. If information needs to flow up, down, or laterally, the mentor-mentee relationship can help affect communication in a positive way. Influence, as I said, by tapping into the network of others, by using the network, the influence of others, you are able to expand your influence through an organization internally and externally. And again, we go back to the whole concept of networking and influence work hand in hand. The two cannot be separated. The networking helps you take advantage and leverage the skills and abilities and strengths of others. Mentoring also helps build resiliencies. If you've got an issue that's bothering you, instead of letting it eat you up, you go talk to your mentor. You get some advice, you get some guidance, get some understanding and some insight into that issue, so it doesn't begin to tell on you. Maybe you can help work on that work-life balance a little bit more. Help with the learning agility. Mentoring relationship, you're going to probably be tasked with homework, things to make you think and engage and expand and stretch you. Mentoring should stretch new leaders so that they grow and expand. Also, mentoring, because many mentors in these programs are senior leaders in an organization, it helps bridge the gap between the middle level or lower level managers and leaders with the senior leaders. In some cases where you have non-supervisory personnel in a mentoring program, it helps bridge that gap from the labor force from the blue collar to the white collar and into the leadership realm. And finally, mentoring leverages experience. That's a very powerful outcome of mentoring, is it leverages experience. It means that I'm not having to relearn the same thing over and over and over again, that I've had the opportunity to take from somebody else, stand on somebody else's shoulders, and reach a higher height.